We've already done a facts video about MJF, but this man is a national treasure, so we had to do another one. So, let's jump straight into Number 10. He's more charming than you and you know it. MJF has had his fair share of in-ring romances, but what about his real dating life? Well, he used to date fellow wrestler Allie Kat and he even proposed to her. Well, kinda. During an indie show, MJF got down on one knee, as the crowd begged Allie Kat to just say no. MJF said the following: "I've been with you for well over a year, you are the absolute love of my life and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you." Allie said yes and the two embraced in front of the crowd, which had started cheering. Finally, the real and wholesome side of Maxwell Jacob Friedman, right? Well, not so fast. MJF turned on her and returned to his usual self a few seconds later. But, what about real life? Well, the couple broke up later that year, and fast forward a few years later. Number 9. MJF's current girlfriend Naomi Rosenblum. Being the absolute salt of the earth, MJF continued charming the ladies inside and outside of the ring. Do you remember MJF's entrance on the 9th of February this year? The one where he passionately kissed a girl? Well, as it turns out, that's his real-life girlfriend Naomi. She's an artist, and her Instagram page is full of her paintings, which by the way look amazing. One of her posts included her attendance on Dynamite, as well as MJF's mother, who was holding up a hilarious sign regarding her son. Number 8. His World Wrestling Entertainment past as an extra. We've talked a bit about MJF's WWE past on our other video, but here's some more information. If you have a Facebook or an Instagram account, chances are that you've seen MJF besides Samoa Joe during his entrance, as well as MJF as Finn Balor. But, what's the context behind this photo? Well, at WWE SummerSlam 2016, MJF was backstage where he stood as a body double to test Finn Balor's body paint. It was a huge night for Balor, as he went on to beat Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship, so everything had to be perfect, and MJF had a small part in this. Unfortunately, we all know how things turned out for Finn, despite winning that night. Number 7. His hilarious in-character interviews and meet and greets. MJF keeps kayfabe alive 99% of the time, and that includes meet and greets, as well as interviews. MJF is notorious for acting like a heel with the fans, and that's exactly how he treats interviewers too, such as Chris Van Vliet and Alicia Atout. In case you haven't watched those, here's a summary. MJF started eating his food in the middle of the interview, he even burped, then he tried to spoon-feed Chris, and that's just a part of what took place. As for the interviews with Alicia, they were even more dramatic. The first ended with Alicia leaving, and the second with Maxwell leaving. The man even appeared in character on Steve Austin's podcast. We're talking about serious commitment here. Number 6. The one where he broke kayfabe. As we said, MJF is 99% of the time in character, but, what about that 1%? In a High Spots interview, MJF finally broke kayfabe, talking about his experience on the Steve Austin podcast. He talked about the nervousness before he arrived, his chit-chat with Stone Cold before the podcast started, and he was generally pretty genuine and authentic while talking. That was way before he blew up, and I don't think we'll ever see MJF break character on screen ever again. Number 5. His intergender matches on the indie scene. You won't see many of those in WWE or All Elite Wrestling, but they happen quite frequently on the indies, and MJF has had his fair share of intergender matches. He has even gone up against fellow All Elite star Chris Statlander, and, check this out, Chris came out on top by pinning MJF for the 3 count. He has also wrestled against Ashley Vox, Kimber Lee, Mia Yim and Tessa Blanchard. Number 4. His pro wrestling inspiration and idols. MJF has shared that he loves old school pro wrestling, and looking at him, he really reminds me of some old school heels. During the For the Love of Wrestling convention in Liverpool, MJF took part in a Q&A, where he revealed his all-time dream opponent, none other than Roddy Piper. Piper was one of the best on the mic, and MJF was inspired by Hot Rod and his antics. Another inspiration of MJF was the following, and I quote, "I found a wrestling DVD and in front of it was this guy that looked like a zombie. I didn't know at the time that it was The Undertaker. I flipped the disc and it said, Undertaker vs. Mankind. This was the first match I watched in full, and I thought to myself, first of all, there is no way I would have let that schmuck throw me off the top of the cage. Immediately, at 5 years old, I could beat this guy, and that's when I knew. Quite frankly, I'm probably right. Number 3. The big guy is hungry for MJF. During MJF's feud with CM Punk, you probably watched MJF call Punk the new Ryback. The context was that Punk had a quote-unquote string of underwhelming matches against underwhelming opponents. In case you don't know or don't remember, Punk and Ryback had a real-life feud, with Punk calling the big guy unsafe, thus the selection of this particular name by MJF. Ryback responded to MJF by tweeting the following. "Thanks for the shout-out. Now you have your big chance at being an enhancement talent working with an underwhelming opponent." Number 2. His real name, hometown, height and more. I just realized that we've been through 2 entire MJF videos without mentioning the basics. So, let's get through them real quick before we watch some of his best moments. The Salt of the Earth is actually using his real name as his ring name. Well, almost. You see, MJF's real name is indeed Maxwell Friedman, but he has changed his middle name, which is Tyler, not Jacob. The reason why he went with Jacob is unclear, but to me MJF sounds better than MTF, for some unknown reason. Anyway, Max is billed as 5 feet 11 inches and 216 pounds, or 180 centimeters and 98 kilos. He was born on March 15, 1996, which means he's just 26 years old. Yet another star who's younger than me. Anyone else feeling old? Anyway, he was born in Plainview, New York, and was trained under Pat Buck and Brian Myers, formerly known as Kurt Hawkins in WWE. MJF isn't his first ring name. In the past, he was known as Maxwell Feinstein, and Pete Lightning. And now, let's finally jump into Number 1. His being the elite appearances and best moments. MJF is just a natural when it comes to acting, and that includes promos for big matches, as well as funny segments. He has appeared numerous times on BTE, and he's offered us some great moments. Let's watch some of them.
Boy, how's it going, man? Hey, look, big fan of yours. Just want to handle a little situation, just a little between me and you, right? Just take care of me out there, okay, bud? Hey, shh. No need to talk. Just take care of me out there. He's the worst. Are you lost? Come on, it's okay. I'm gonna find you a good spot to go chill. What are you doing, man? Oh man, this is embarrassing. You're Marco's stunt. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I actually do know where your mom is. She's in my hotel room. Oh my God. Kylie Ray, it's a pleasure to finally meet you in person.
Oh, it's nice to meet you too.
Absolutely. I mean, I've heard so much great stuff about you. I mean, heard you're such a sweetheart. I got to see a little bit of your match tonight, and let me tell you something. You got something there.
Oh,
you really do. And another thing, everybody's just been putting over to me about your great smile. You have this great smile, which is funny because, you know, your teeth could be whiter. You know what I mean? So, you know, have a great day.
You too.